Good evening, sports fans! Crobat for the win of the Token Minorities, here today with GBA D-League Season 4, Week 1, Team Builder. I am so excited to bring you my squad for this week. This week we're playing the Durham Drudgions, owned by Leo, SixFtHax. His link will be in the description below, so he does some really great commentaries. I highly recommend you go check it out. Check out his Team Builder for the week, check out his match, which will be up tomorrow. I'm excited to jump into this. Why don't we talk about his team first? And his first mon is Magearna. That is his team. Yep, that's his team. Magearna, it's there. We're done. All right, team builder's over. See you later, guys. No, but jokes aside, I don't even have to go through the rest of his team. That is scary as heck, especially with my roster, which is not exactly meant to deal with Magearna. I don't have many options that I like and feel comfortable dealing with Magearna, so it kind of depends on what set he runs. I kind of have to generalize the best I can to try to find a mon that can counter or check as many Magearna sets as possible, but we'll have to see what we can cook up for that one. We've got Nidokings as well. Now, one thing I noticed about his Nidokings is it is his most reliable rocker. You know what? I'm just going to read off the rest of the team, and then I'll go over individually. So it's Magearna, Nidokings, Mega Medicham, Z Infernape, Zygarde Dog Form, so I think it's 10%. Serena, that's how you say that mon, I think, because I have mon pronunciation syndrome, where I can't do that right half the time. Zoroark, Cresselia, Miltank, Alomomola, and Rotom Frost Z-Move. Alright, back to Nidokings. The one thing I notice about that is that it is his best Stealth Rock setter on the team. And I know he needs Stealth Rocks in this matchup to win, and he is going to definitely... I can almost guarantee he's going to bring Nidokings. There isn't a question in my mind. I've watched him play some of his P4G games. He brings Nidokings maybe not every week, but he's brought it enough, and it has won him many of his games. And I know that is probably why he got Nidokings. Because he probably just wanted the bulk this time around, but they play similarly enough that I can reasonably expect him to bring Nidokings. And the other thing too, it hits my team very hard. I know that. I don't have much that wants to switch into an Earth Power plus an Ice Beam. It basically can 2-hit KO everything if I am not careful. Maybe even Oko, certain threats. So my way of dealing with this is going to be very interesting, and I will definitely talk about that very soon when we get there. He's also got Mega Medicham, which hits like a truck. It's going to be hard to find something for that as well. Now, just those 3 mons alone. I mean, at least with my squad, which you guys know, we talked about that in the draft analysis and everything, that's going to be tough. He's also got Infernape, which thankfully Toxapex and a couple other mons on my team are decently able to check it, so that is helpful. We've also got the Zygarde Dog, which can be a bit of a nuisance if it's a DD variant or if it's choice banded, but I think I've pretty much got most of that covered. And then there's Cresselia, of course. I can't forget my days of NPL Season 2 against Trev CL, or back then he was Trev the King. He used to harass me with Cresselia, and he won the first 2 games against me, a combined 10-0. And then I beat him in the championship. So that was a nice time, but I learned about how bad Cress was. And you want to know, let's add some salt into that wound, where he also had Alomomola, just as he has Alomomola. Now, Cresselia and Aloe are a disgusting core, and I hope I don't have to deal with both. I genuinely hope I don't. So, we'll see what happens, but Wish passing Aloe is going to be an issue. I'm definitely going to need Taunt. I've actually got a really neat other way that I'm going to try to deal with it as well, if he decides to bring that. And of course, actually, Rotom Frost doesn't have a bad matchup at all. It just has to hit a Blizzard, or it could go for Z Blizzard. But beyond that, it actually can do some damage, and I'm hoping that I have enough to deal with all those major threats. Zoroark's also on the table, but it's kind of a wild card, I'd say. I wouldn't say it is the most threatening one on his team, but like I said, it's one of the more unpredictable ones, so it's always something to watch out for. The fact that I just listed off more than half of his team surely must tell you how threatening his draft is, and Either way, though, I like the build that we put together, and I feel confident that we'll be able to make this a really good game, maybe even win. I mean, I would say on paper, the matchup doesn't look good. But that is okay. We're going to give it our best college try, and I'd love to sneak a win out of this. If we somehow manage to get an upset week 1, I would be the happiest in the world. But I think I've talked enough about his team. He's got so many threats there, but we're going to try to cover them as much as we can. Why don't we jump in to my team for the week? Alrighty, so for our first mon this week, we are packing Tornadus Therian. Now, Tornadus Therian is going to be Fire MZ with Taunt, U-Turn, Heat Wave, and Hurricane. Of course, Taunt on Tornadus Therian allows us to 1v1 Alamalola, or allows us to force it out, and it prevents it from passing wishes. We do not want anything recovering with Wish. If he brings Aloe, I'm hoping Tornadus Therian will be able to stop it in its tracks, and plus, Hurricane should be able to do some very big damage to it. It also stops Calm Mind Cress, stops T-Wave Cress. Both of those are really good utility, and it is also important with the EVs we've got, we can live 1 attack from max special attack, Life Orb Nidoqueen, and we can taunt and then U-turn as well to prevent rocks if we must. However, we do have a better answer for that. That's more as a just in case, maybe a late game idea, something like that. Z Heat Wave is to blast Magearna, which otherwise basically can take a Hurricane and checks it completely. Now, Z Heat Wave, assuming average amount of bulk, let's say just max HP, KOs after Hurricane chip damage, or Stealth Rocks if I have that, something like that. So that would be my hope, would be to Z Heat Wave. And just as a note, the 212 speed and the Timid Nature allows it to outspeed max speed Zygarde Doge form. Next up, we've got probably the most controversial or heat set of the week, and this week we're packing Silvally Bug. Now, just to give you a preface, we initially had Silvally Psychic as it was thought of as a Mega Medicham resist, but one of the things we found was that in the many mocks I had, Mega Medicham had a hard time coming into most of the team anyways, so it was really not going to come in on Silvally Psychic. And the only thing it would actually come into was maybe Pex, Toxapex. On the other hand, actually, Nidoqueen came in very easily, and offensive variants of Nidoqueen can, as I said earlier in the beginning, KO most of my team. Earth Power does big damage, Sludge Wave does big damage with Life Orb. Just, I needed something that would be able to take an Earth Power. Basically was the starting rationale behind this. So, and also keep in mind, Calm Mind Cress takes advantage of Silvally Psychic. So not only does it not take an Earth Power, it really doesn't help against Mega Medicham because it's not going to switch in anyway, and Crest basically sets up on it. None of those made for a good set. And with all of that in mind, we as a team thought Silvally Bug would be the best option for this week, because it was deemed that a soft check to Mega Medicham wasn't really all that necessary. Now, to highlight what I said earlier, Silvally Bug resisted Nidoqueen's Earth Power, and Sludge Wave did a lot, but at the same time, I thought the possibility of him bringing Sludge Wave was a little bit less, given that the coverage was less than ideal for the rest of my team. Earth Power is his best move to hit my team, and having a key resist to it is awesome. And it was easy bait. It really was easy bait for me. The main point, though, the final point to drive home, it can come in on Nidoqueen in any situation, whether it goes for Earth Power, whether it goes for Sludge Wave, whether it goes for Ice Beam, any of those situations. Now, if it goes for Sludge Wave, it's a little bit more of a pain, possibly, but at least it doesn't have Stealth Rocks up, and it outspeeds. Now, Stealth Rock, it is going to have Defog this week. Let's go over, I forgot to actually read off the Silvally set. It's obviously Bug Memory, Parting Shot, Defog, Multi-Attack, and Surf. And it's got a pretty good mix of EVs for defense, special defense. Like I said, Defog is very important, so that way Nidoqueen will never be able to keep rocks on the field. And if Silvally Bug can do that, it switches in, say, as rocks are set up, It won't take the damage, and it can defog them away right away. Now, it's a great lure as well for Infernape and even Magearna to a large extent. I mean, remember, we've got Parting Shot, which is a very valuable asset to the team. And now you're going to say to me, why on earth do you have Surf? That makes no sense. You are in minus special attack nature. Well, the thing is, it still 3-hit KOs Nidoqueen. Even if I ran minus attack and not minus special attack, it does pretty much the same amount of damage. It's basically the same calc. It does a little bit less, sure, but it's still a 3-hit KO. It really doesn't impact much at all. So I'd rather have a powered up Bug multi-attack than a powered up Surf. You've got to remember, that's more to break Cress and break Cress's subs if I need it. And so that's where my priority lies in the attacks. But that does break Nidoqueen and prevents it from being able to get up rocks very well. Now to go over just the final points about the Silvally. Now, like I said, this is the most controversial set of the week, so I want to make sure I explain it very carefully. Ice Beam was also just not a very good idea, just to clarify, because at least Surf hits Infernape if it came down to it. And as well, we have 76 speed to outspeed Adamant Serena. We can hit it with multi-attack, so it will go down. And 36 defense, Impish Nature, prevents a 2-hit KO from 2 high jump kicks, or high jump kick plus Send Headbutt from Mega Medicham. The rest of the EVs were just thrown into HP and special defense. They were really not needed so much. It would just help to take attacks from Nidoqueen a lot better. Alrighty, next up we've got Tangrowth, Santa Christ, Leftovers, Sleep Powder, Hidden Power Ice, Giga Drain, and Protect. Now this one is much more self-explanatory, but let's just talk about it real quick. Sleep Powder puts a lot of pressure on his team in quite a few ways. So first off, it deters Volt Switch Magearna and U-Turn Infernape from ever trying to come in and get momentum. That's not going to happen if we can use Sleep Powder. That would be ideal. Otherwise, they'd be able to do these actions safely. So it would hopefully stop that. Protect is meant to be a surprise for High Jump Kick and Mega Medicham, and we would also be able to live more attacks with Leftovers if we could just get health back, right? We don't necessarily need him to hit himself. Even if you went for Ice Punch, just getting that health back will be immensely helpful in dealing with this thing. Now, it's important to note that Zen Headbutt is not a 2-hit KO on Tangrowth, so a high jump kick is forced, and that is why hopefully Protect would be so helpful. If he misses, we will be as good as gold, that's for sure. Now, HP Ice is there to beat the Zygarde, and this is kind of my big Zygarde check for the week, so if I need to, I can switch it in, go for HP Ice, it'll do big damage, maybe go for Sleep Powder on it, something like that. And Giga Drain is really self-explanatory. I mean, there's really nothing to say. It's good stab, recovery, that's pretty much it. Alright, let's jump to the next mon for the week, and that is Arcanine. Now, this is another pretty heat set. Of course, puns are always intended. We juggled between a few ideas. So the first one was a set that we could threaten his team offensively, but also could defensively check Magearna. And 2, a set that was fully defensive to deal with Magearna and Infernape. We decided on the first, and that is because we found other ways that we thought would be able to deal with Infernape much better. Now, Toxic on this set, let's just read off. I think I forgot to read off the set. Alright, here we go. It's Flame Plate, Flare Blitz, Morning Sun, Toxic, and Extreme Speed with Intimidate, also important to note. And we got a good variety of EVs across the board. Now, we'll make note of that in just a moment. So Toxic is basically for Alomomola, which can get free wishes, switch in on me. We don't want to deal with that at all. So Toxic helps to deter Alomomola and put it on a timer as much as possible. It really is an intuitive Arcanine switch in, and that's where I would hope to deter it. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory, of course, but let's just go dig a little bit deeper. 100 attack Adamant with Flame Plate, Oko's 252 HP for defense Magearna. The bulkiest Magearna we expect to see. I do not think he's going to bring max physically defensive. That seems kind of silly. And the fact that it Oko's Magearna is amazing. I would love to just Flare Blitz in that thing's face and just get rid of it. Even turn 1. How cool would that be? Now, if he were to speed creep anything on our team, it would very likely be Arcanine or Silvally, which are both base 95. So we put 12 EVs into speed just to kind of get around that as kind of a buffer to hopefully speed creep the speed creep, if that makes sense. That would hopefully be enough to outspeed anything that speed creeps no speed Arcanine. Can you count how many times I just said speed in that sentence? Jeez, I feel like I must have said it like 7 or 8 times. Anyway, the rest of the EVs were just thrown into HP and special defense in order to deal with Magearna as great as possible. Now, Flare Cannon won't do nearly enough to KO this thing. Obviously, like Dazzling Gleam, stuff like Moonblast, whatever it is, I forget off my head. Doesn't matter. It won't do much to this Arcanine because it's going to be very bulky. And of course, Volt Switch will not do all that much. The question is whether he gets up a boosted Thunderbolt. That's where we'll start to get into some trouble, but this is my best Magearna check for the week. Hopefully, we will be able to take Magearna out with a Flare Blitz before it can take us out. It is his most threatening mon, and this is what I got for it, a bulky tank Arcanine. We're going to roll with it. Let's see how it goes. Alright, our next set for the week, we've got Mega Gallade, Gallade, Earthquake, Close Combat, X-Scissor, and Swords Dance. X-Scissor is to nuke Cresselia at +2 after getting a Swords Dance up. Honestly, I expect Colbur Cresselia to try to stop the Mega Gallade. Because knockoff is really obvious, I'm not going to lie. It is. And after Colbur Berry, once that's knocked off, it's only going to be 65 power. Max Defense Cress is going to wall it, even at +2. And thankfully, especially after rocks or after just some chip damage even, X-Scissor is so much better. It can KO, 2-hit KO rather, the defensive Cress, and that is the goal. We do not want this thing to hopefully have T-Wave, but at least, hopefully, if I could just get some chip damage, I might be able to even KO, possibly with enough damage, with X-Scissor, whereas Colbur Berry knockoff is not good enough for me. Definitely not against Cresselia, because Colbur is very common. Earthquake allows us to hit Magearna without losing our defenses, and really, Zen Headbutt doesn't get any KOs that Earthquake doesn't, so that's kind of the most important thing. It also hits Nidokings, by the way, which is very important. That is important as well. And 244 Jolly just basically outspeeds Non-Scarf Infernape. It's pretty self-explanatory from there. Close Combat obviously is a very powerful stab. I'm hoping I won't have to really use it too much because I don't want to lose defenses when not necessary, but I think we've got some pretty solid coverage there, and I think Mega Gallade is good and raring to go this week. I'm excited to use it for the first time. And finally, we've got Toxapex for this week. We've got Black Sludge, Toxic, Block, Haze, and Scald. And we've got a good mix of defenses there. Now, this is another pretty heat set, I'd say. It's maybe to some extent standard, but I think in one regard it's heat. Block, I think, is heat. Alright, maybe it's common and standard, I have no clue. But I think it's pretty neat. We ran it because we didn't want to overburden Arcanine in dealing with Infernape and Magearna too much. Now, yes, we have to be wary of Thunderbolt and Volt Switch and stuff like that, but at the same time, Toxapex can still take some of those mons, especially Infernape. Really, it's big on Infernape here. It takes that very, very well. If Infernape doesn't come, Toxapex kind of becomes a bit more dead weight. So this is a risk, but the problem is, if I don't bring it, then Infernape can run through my team if I am not careful. We are willing to take that risk. We do not want to deal with Infernape without this mon on the team. It's that important. Of course, Haze stops Sweeper Magearna if it gets to that point. Now this is the heat move. Block. It prevents Alomomola from Wish Passing when it's trapped, and we can Toxic Stall it. How cool would that be? I've got that to work in a couple of mocks. If I can get that to work on that Aloe, that would be GOAT set of the week. I would love for that to work out. How cool would that be? So that would just be a free KO for Pex right there. Imagine Toxapex getting a KO that way. Whew. It would be a little stally, but it would work. Now just to go over the EVs, 272 defense prevents a 2-hit KO from Mega Medichamp's high jump kick, and if we switch into a high jump kick, he can't go for another one, because obviously he's going to go for Zen Headbutt, which actually means we could very easily go into Tangrowth, and then take a high jump kick with Tangrowth immediately after that. And then the rest of my bulk is just to pad it its defenses, and that's pretty much it. The max HP was obviously very important, and the special defense was, once again, just to pad whatever we needed it for. It was general utility for really anything, but mostly the Infernape. Now, that's basically it for my team this week. I'm hoping we can use it to prevail. I think it's a little heating to some extent. It's a bit, maybe even a gimmick to some extent on a couple of these mons. However, based on my initial testing, I've found them to be at least moderately to very effective. And my hope would be that we get very effective use out of this team, and I can report tomorrow that we've got a big win. That is the goal. We're eyeing the prize. We want to win. I don't know anyone who doesn't want to win, but I'm excited. I am looking forward to posting this game tomorrow. Go check it out when it's up. I think it's going to probably be up around 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, rate, comment, subscribe, guys, and peace out.